Welcome to the Cross Crime Channel, the portal to the darkest corners of human history, where we meticulously dissect and analyze true crime cases from around the globe. Before we dive into today's riveting case, remember to show your support by hitting that like button, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement fuels our quest for truth. Now, prepare yourself for an unsettling journey as we unravel the enigma of Suzanne von Richthofen. In the quiet, affluent suburbs of Sao Paulo, nestled among towering trees and manicured lawns, lay the von Richthofen family. Their unassuming mansion, hidden in the southern district of Brooklyn, bore a staggering valuation of 3 million Brazilian real, equivalent to $600,000. But this was no ordinary dwelling. It was a fortress of luxury, concealing more than it revealed. The mansion's facade, adorned with exposed brickwork, created a dramatic contrast to the imposing dark iron gates that guarded the entrance. Exotic plants, shrouded in shadows, whispered secrets to the night. Within these four walls, the von Richthofen family resided, a family burdened by untold stories and enigmatic histories. At the heart of this opulent existence was Manfred Albert von Richthofen, a brilliant German engineer. He directed DERSA, a state-owned juggernaut that governed the intricate web of highways and roads sprawling out from Sao Paulo. By his side stood Mauricia, a local psychiatrist, whose warm and outgoing nature provided a stark contrast to her husband's quiet demeanor. Their love story, born in the hallowed halls of the University of Sao Paulo, was of love at first sight. Their union in the 1970s marked the beginning of their dreams of building a family. In 1983, the year of transformation, Suzanne von Richthofen was born on November the 3rd. 4 years later, her brother Andreas arrived, bringing with him the promise of a united family. Beneath the veneer of privilege, Suzanne and Andreas spent their formative years, nurtured in the city's most prestigious private schools. Their innate brilliance set them apart, but Suzanne, in particular, was defined by her quiet, introspective nature. Though she found solace in a select group of friends,
Entrevista mostrando fotos de amigos e da família.
E aqui?
Essa é a vovó,
Quando que vocês tiraram essa foto?
no aniversário dela.
maintained a close-knit relationship with her parents and brother. She shied away from the spotlight. As Suzanne's years unfurled, she flourished, mastering 3 languages and embarking on a journey of academic excellence. Her pursuit of a law degree at the Pontifical Catholic University of Sao Paulo seemed like a natural progression. Money, the least of her concerns, flowed abundantly, with the family's estimated wealth hovering around $17 million. But behind this fortune, veiled in secrecy, lay another layer of intrigue, a rumored 10 million euros hidden away in a Swiss bank account, earmarked for Suzanne upon her graduation. It was an inheritance that held the promise of a life of ease and affluence, requiring only her patience and virtuous conduct. Yet, as the story unfolds, shadows deepen and suspense unfurls, like a dark, foreboding cloud over the von Richthofen mansion. The promise of a comfortable life of privilege becomes entangled in a web of secrets, desires, and chilling mysteries that will shatter the calm facade of this affluent family. The summer of 2002 cast a heavy shadow over the von Richthofen family, their once harmonious relationship now marred by turbulence. Suzanne, at the tender age of 18, had embarked on a treacherous path, one that had little to do with wealth and everything to do with love. 3 years earlier, in the sweltering August of 1999, the von Richthofens had ventured to a model aircraft fair nestled within the serene expanse of Ibirapuera Park. Andreas, the younger sibling, had found his heart captivated by the world of model airplanes, and fate had steered him toward a chance encounter with an older boy named Daniel Kravenhaus. At the time, Daniel, a 19-year-old with a talent for crafting miniature aircraft, had caught Andreas's curiosity. The Kravenhaus family's humble origins didn't align with the von Richthofens' affluence, as they hailed from the lower rungs of Sao Paulo's social ladder. Daniel and his elder brother Christian toiled as mechanics in a local garage, their dreams of education long abandoned. It was this stark contrast, a stark clash of worlds, that drew Suzanne to Daniel. His rugged, rebellious spirit beckoned to her quiet, privileged life. As their connection deepened, Suzanne chose to keep her blossoming romance with Daniel hidden from her parents, uncertain of their reaction. Over the passing weeks, however, secrets unraveled, revealing a side of Daniel that sent shockwaves through the von Richthofen household. Initially, her parents seemed unfazed, even permitting Suzanne to date Daniel. But beneath his facade as a law student and model airplane enthusiast, Daniel concealed a darker truth. He had abandoned both pursuits, succumbing to a daily haze of marijuana smoke, rendering him lethargic and paranoid. School and employment held no allure for him, as he devoted himself solely to his time with Suzanne. Manfred and Marisha, driven by their desire for the best for their children, could no longer tolerate. Suzanne's relationship with Daniel. Unknown to Suzanne at the time, her brother Andreas served as an unlikely ally, crafting elaborate schemes to shield Suzanne from their parents' prying eyes, while she and Daniel retreated to motels and the seclusion of Daniel's home. The air in the von Richthofen mansion grew heavy with secrets, and the familial bonds that once held them together now strained under the weight of uncertainty. Suzanne's secret love affair with Daniel was a spark, igniting a storm that would soon consume them all. Manfred and Marisha had embarked on a much-anticipated one-month vacation to Europe, entrusting their home to Suzanne and Andreas. Suzanne, now 18 and craving independence, saw this as an opportunity to prove her maturity to her parents. Little did they know, this month would change their lives in ways they could never have imagined. As the days unfolded, Suzanne secretly invited Daniel to move into the family home. Their reckless escapades consisted of days spent lounging by the pool, intoxicated, and experimenting with a variety of drugs. Unknown to Manfred and Marisha, their house was slowly becoming a den of chaos. Upon their return from Europe, the von Richthofen household descended into a whirlwind of arguments. Each confrontation left Suzanne feeling more desperate. She even approached her father, asking him to buy her an apartment for her and Daniel, dreaming of a life together. But her father's response was a firm rejection, threatening to cut off her allowance. Suzanne begrudgingly accepted her defeat, or so it seemed on the surface. Behind the scenes, she continued her secret relationship with Daniel, and their clandestine plans took a sinister turn. November the 1st, 2002, the streets echoed with frantic screams, and the heart-wrenching sounds of horror emanated from the von Richthofen household. Suzanne and Andreas had sneaked out the previous night, returning shortly after 4 a.m. to a gruesome scene that would haunt their nightmares forever. Their parents, Manfred and Marisha, lay lifeless in their bedroom, victims of a savage and nightmarish assault. Responding officers were horrified by the brutal display of violence. It appeared that multiple methods of murder had been employed. The once recognizable faces of Manfred and Marisha were nearly unrecognizable, bearing the marks of strangulation and asphyxiation. Marisha had a garbage bag tied around her head, and it seemed as though the family had been robbed. Money had been forcibly taken from a suitcase, and other areas once brimming with cash were now barren. But as investigators delved deeper, they began to sense that something was amiss. The alarm system had failed to alert the guard stationed across the street, and it appeared that someone with knowledge of the code had disarmed it. Oddly, the ransacked rooms displayed an eerie orderliness, not what one would expect from a frantic burglar. Papers in the office were meticulously placed, raising questions about the true nature of this crime. There were no signs of forced entry, no missing electronic devices, and some rooms remained untouched. The von Richthofen tragedy left everyone baffled. The media's attention turned to Andreas and Suzanne, who responded to the horrifying discovery in different ways. Andreas, overwhelmed by grief, struggled to breathe, while Suzanne, despite her apparent sorrow, remained surprisingly composed for someone who had just lost her parents. As police investigated their activities on the fateful night, inconsistencies in Suzanne's and Andreas' statements began to emerge. Suzanne claimed that her parents supported her relationship with Daniel, a statement that contradicted what was known to be true. A year had gone by before Manfred and Mauricia were finally laid to rest, a solemn occasion that should have brought tears to all eyes. But as the mourners observed, Suzanne's eyes remained relatively dry compared to her brother's, Andreas, whose grief poured forth like a torrential rain. Suzanne's seemingly emotionless demeanor stirred whispers and raised more than a few eyebrows. But it was only the beginning of the enigma surrounding her. Rumors began to swirl, casting a sinister shadow over Suzanne's actions. Whispers spread that she had hosted a pool party in her family home, a mere 3 days after her parents' brutal murder. What truly sent shockwaves through the community, however, was the noticeable shift in her emotions when cameras were present. Authorities couldn't ignore these eerie inconsistencies, and their suspicions deepened with each revelation. But what truly tipped the scales in favor of suspicion was an anonymous tip, a revelation from a friend who had noticed a peculiar purchase. Just days after the tragic murders, a man walked into a local motorbike store, buying a Suzuki GSX in full, with nothing but crisp $100 bills. This man was none other than Christian Cravenhose, Daniel's older brother, a name synonymous with financial struggles and drug addiction. The oddness of this purchase raised red flags that authorities couldn't ignore. With their sights set on Christian Cravenhose, officers brought him to the local police station for questioning. To their astonishment, he crumbled under the pressure, admitting to the heinous murder of Manfred and Mauricia. His revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Daniel and Suzanne had been his accomplices. According to Christian's chilling confession, Suzanne and Daniel had conspired to eliminate her parents, to inherit a staggering $17 million, and finally be together.